Hello, I'm Michael Pascoe. It's Friday, June 7, the end of a week almost as wild as the Aussie dollar, the latest plaything of international traders, having its moment as the Forex casino's favourite game. We've had lower than expected GDP numbers, providing an excuse for lots of scary headlines. Nothing like the R word to attract eyeballs to a website. We have the great story of bravery and cowardice, responsibility taken and responsibility shirked. The usual pattern with whistleblowers, this time at the Commonwealth Bank. Never mind the usual failure of culture at ASIC. There was an RBA board meeting and some softer retail sales figures and much more, but we don't have time for that, so let's get down to it with the down dollar. When the currency of one of the world's most stable nations swings over 200 points in a few hours, as the Aussie has, you know the casino is playing. And the Aussie is indeed in play, after being stubbornly range-bound for most of the past year. But we are far from alone. The dollar-yen overnight has been even wilder. The Forex casino is in full swing, which means the fundamentals don't get a lot of play while traders are riding trends. As usual, there's a tendency for the popular media, and some who should know better, to give the impression that it's all about us, particularly in a week with the GDP numbers and an RBA meeting. It is partially about us, the softer commodity prices finally showing up in our currency's worth, as the textbooks say it should. But the effect is exaggerated by other nations' games and a hot market's tendency to overshoot. What shouldn't be missed is that while a softer Aussie is welcome, the odds of it suddenly weakening as significantly as some people hope are long. Despite some of the very silly headlines that have been written this week, the Australian economy remains one of the world's strongest. Recession here remains much less likely than recession just about anywhere else in the developed world. We have very little government debt and thus plenty of ammunition to deal with problems should they occur. We have challenges in the years ahead, but no immediate crisis, however much some people would like to whip one up. And the world's serious players know that. I don't mean the hedge funds, gamblers with a mere billion or two, but the world's central banks. Here's something you probably don't know. Just a few years ago, our major banks' interest rate departments each had a sovereign desk with a bare handful of clients. Now they count their sovereign clients by the score. Enjoy the present volatility, try not to get burnt. Remember that the vast majority of currency forecasts are just extrapolations of whatever the latest trend might be. And realise that when the circus moves on, the Australian dollar won't be down around the post-float average that some people dream about. Then there's the efforts taken to read the worst into the March quarter GDP numbers. They were disappointing, a bit below expectations, especially consumption growth. And maybe 2.5% annual GDP growth might be our new normal for a while. It's about what the RBA is forecasting for the year ahead. But the quarterly movement of 0.6% is a little complicated by the impact of a single large transaction in the December quarter, the Victorian government's purchase of the Wonthaggi desalination plant. It's partly an accounting matter, balanced by the private sector selling the thing, but it appears to mean government fixed capital formation subtracted 0.9% from the quarter's growth. As to the claim that Western Australia is now in recession, well, in the real world, if a pot of water is boiling and you take it off the heat, the temperature will quickly fall from 100 degrees to 90 or so. So you could correctly say the water is colder. It will still burn you. Besides, that technical measure of state demand doesn't include exports, so comic book economics. Finally, nice to see ASIC copping some stick over its tardy response to the whistleblowers brave enough to do the right thing over the Commonwealth Bank's appalling financial planning failures. As I've said in this space before, there is a most disappointing cultural failure at ASIC that has been evident for many years. A certain lack of fire in the belly. No obvious head kickers who want to proactively seize scumbag fraudsters, conmen and rip-off merchants by the throat and rip their lungs out. In other words, I can't imagine anyone from ASIC ever being selected to play State of Origin, or even wanting to. Elliot Ness would not fit in with the overly bureaucratic and lawyered culture, and that's a shame. Enjoy the long weekend. Talk to you Tuesday.